long tail. Maybe he's looks like he might be in a boxing stance, and maybe the end of his tail would have like a little punching bag, something like that. Okay, so this is our first attempt at like a quick wire sculpture that we could be very gestural and have him like swooping and flying, and maybe doing a Superman pose. Like, see how fast it is to pose it now, and play around with what kind of character you want him to be. Right? So a gesture line of action, your drawing skills, like having it swoop and come around and maybe curl into a pattern. Like whatever, you could just play with this forever. Maybe he's doing a dance pose. Oh, I'm so sexy. Like really have fun with this, all right? So you should make lots and lots of these and add this to your repertoire, because this is sketching. This is sketching using sculptural wire as your medium, but it's still sketching. And doing gesture sketches with your pencil and doing sculptural sketches with wire is what this first week is all about, you know, along with coming up with a fun character and deciding what it is you want to make. So as you explore an idea, this is where I want you to use your tracing paper and plain ink pen. So I'm going to just tape some tracing paper over the top of this guy, right? And now we could go in here and with the pen, and we could play around with some of the other aspects of this character. So if we wanted to give him the rib wings, which make the flying lizard unique, and see where the attachment points for the rib cage are. As you can see on here, the rib cage still attaches like a regular rib cage, right up about here. But that the membrane attaches from the knee, comes up, and rather than attaching to the elbow, like with the flying squirrel, it curls back around almost like a little heart shape and comes back behind to the shoulder blade, which is really cool. So, you know, this isn't an anatomy lesson or anything, so, you know, you don't have to follow any of that stuff, but I could take my pencil, which won't show up on camera, so I'm gonna use my pen. Normally I would explore a little bit with the pencil first, but now we could go in here and say, okay, what sort of membrane do we want it to be? So I like the heart analogy, so I'm gonna go up here and I'm just gonna start here at the spine on a piece of tracing paper over the top. So just like your layers in Photoshop, so if you have Photoshop or Procreate, you could do the same thing. And we could kind of go and make something that's more of a heart shape. And instead of attaching it to the knee, I'm just gonna literally make it a heart. Just like that. And for this, you could say, okay, it's still rib cage bones. Maybe there's like a main bone that comes here and curls around, and maybe it comes off a little bit there. And maybe there's a second one that comes in, and a third, and a fourth. Like whatever you want to play around with these ideas. So let's cut that shape. Right, so what I'm gonna do is I have this little wire mesh. If you wanna get the wire mesh and get really fancy with it, you can. I'm just gonna use this stuff up just because I've had it forever. I was saving it for a rainy day, and I realized, well, I better start making stuff with my art materials, because if I save it up for too long, it'll never get used. Right, so I could do one side first, cut down along here, and then this should cut with regular scissors. Where those big thick scissors go? Where did the scissors at? There we go. And I'm just gonna go for it. So this stuff's pretty neat. It is a little pricey to get a few sheets of it, but I find that it's pretty useful at the end of the day. There we go. So I'm gonna go up here, and just like you would in grade school, remember doing the hearts, I'm gonna do 1/2 first. And then after I get 1/2 done, I can fold it over and do the other half, so they're symmetrical. So whenever possible, if you have to deal with symmetry, use whatever tricks you can to make it easy on yourself. You don't want to get all crazy trying to, so I take 1/2 of the heart, fold it over like that, okay? And I'll just follow with the scissors. And voila, and there's our little glider's heart-shaped wings. How cute. Okay. So now we decide how we want that to attach here. And this is where if you have any sewing capabilities, you're good with thread, comes in really handy. So for this guy here, I would go in and thread the wire through the mesh and around there. The other thing you can do if you don't have the fancy wire mesh is just use aluminum foil, right? So same thing. I don't even have to draw the design too much on there, but I will just to finish the idea going through. Okay, so for this one, go around here and then maybe down, maybe play with the shape a little bit. And that's what you're doing. You're exploring shapes, right? You're exploring what type of characters you want to make. And you don't want to be one of those young artists or new artists that just does the same designs over and over again. You want to explore and become versatile and become a true student of the world in terms of discovering what makes a design unique and what types of stories you want to tell. Like we gotta keep coming up with new stuff and new characters and new stories to tell, and come up with your own unique characters for your own voice to be heard. Okay, there we go. And you can get both. Hopefully you have aluminum foil laying around the house. You definitely want to use aluminum foil for this class. I would get one really extra thick and get one regular. That should be good enough. There we go. So that should be just fine. It's not perfectly symmetrical, so if I want to make it symmetrical, I just fold it over itself like that and go, oh, look, I totally messed up. All right, no problem. Just even it out. I wasn't even close on that one. But, you know, asymmetry is good. Maybe not for things like wings. You don't want wings to be too asymmetrical. I don't know. There's a shiny side and the dull side, so just for camera purposes, we'll use the dull side. Yeah. And there you go. And a lot is done with aluminum foil. Now, if you want to pop holes through this and use your floral wire to weave and sew it on there, I'm not going to do that on camera because that'll take me a while and my fingers aren't that great at doing that kind of stuff anymore. You could just glue it on. You could use hot glue, whatever. Or you could just kind of press it on there, squeeze the foil a little bit, and let it do what it's going to do. And it stays on pretty darn good once you squeeze the aluminum foil on there. All right, pretty awesome. I'm having fun with it. I hope you guys are making something while you're watching this. Just get your wire and start making stuff. Okay, so to that end, let's do something a little simpler. So that was fairly complex. Like this character here, I would say that would be something you would do for your midterm. That would be your first character that you would design, would be about that size. But if you want to do a bunch of quicker, simpler ones, let's do that. So I'm going to just take a wire here and I'm going to loop the head. So again, I do like to use my tool just to save my fingers, and do a little loop-de-loop here for the head. Oh, it's a little, what's that Pokemon with the squiggly tail?
There's a lot.
What's it called?
There's a lot.
Oh, there's a lot with a squiggly tail? Okay, there was one particular one that
the pig?
I was trying to think of. But, so here's another example of maybe doing one like a Randall character from Monsters Inc., something like that. You could do this. And now I'm not getting fancy and measuring. I'm just kind of playing around with the wire. Do that. And take our floral wire here. And maybe before I put it in a pose, I'll go ahead and I'll lash it first, right? So when you do a loop like that, this is an easy way to kind of put the floral wire through first and twist around. And then now we can take this, and I can even leave it on the stick, and I can just very quickly lash around this thing. And it takes a minute to lash around a full piece. Thank you. Okay, is that fast enough? We don't have to speed that one up. There we go. And then I'll just give it a few extra twists at the end. The floral wire is not too hurtful. And this is something you could put clay on, right? And we could just play around with a whole variety of ways we're adding the wire on there. So here's another wire here, and I could give them like some big hind like frog legs, something like that. Just want to make sure I'm roughly even when I do this. Doesn't have to be, but there we go. Frog legs, there's the hips. And this is actually thicker wire than I have for the spine. I have a few different thicknesses going on here. So for this one here, I could now take and bend really hard. A nice sharp bend at the ankle, another nice sharp bend. There you go. Some little feet going on there. There we go. Now, when you're attaching pieces together, I guess it's gonna end up looking like a dinosaur, no matter what I do. But how you attach these pieces together, if you just take this and just twist it around like that, it usually doesn't do too well. It'll slide back and forth and get lost. But if you're just doing quick ones, I don't think it's a bad. I would maybe twist one direct side on one and then the other side like that. What you can do to keep it from sliding is once you get it on there, just take your floral wire and just lash it some more again. And so this is more along the lines of what I'm looking for your first assignment. This, after you do your 0 assignment, when you're actually doing wire sculptures, just do some simple things like this. I'm just kind of crisscrossing my wire back and forth, keeping it nice and tight. There we go. And that will do pretty well keeping it, and then I could just finish lashing this around. There we go. And it won't move around too much. We'll get into all the glues and things like that you need. So now I'm kind of playing with this guy, and we're saying, all right, so we have this little creature with legs and a tail and a head. Maybe he has little itty bitty baby T-Rex arms and big crazy ears. I don't know. So we'll just do some ears real quick. Snip. This is so this is the steel one. I have to be careful. Some of the snippers are fragile, like these little ones here. The aluminum's usually a lot softer. So when I switch to steel, you want to be careful you don't ruin your tools right away, and you want to use your stronger snippers on that. So for this guy, I'm gonna have a pair of ears. So I just want them to be roughly equal in size. So I'm gonna do like big bunny rabbit ears. Okay, so there's one, then fold it in half. Okay, roughly the same size. See that? And really the limit is your imagination. There's no right or wrong. If the wire stays together and does what you want it to do, then cool, you're successful. And you're only gonna figure out the answer to those questions by playing around with it. So I just kind of put it through there. Now it's kind of moving around a lot. So once it's moving around a lot, what I can do is position the ears close to where I want them. You can always move them afterwards. So I get them a little close. They're out there. There we go. Hold it tight with the tool. And then I can twist with my fingers a lot easier than if I didn't have the tool to grip it for me. And that is a steel wire, so it's very sharp. It's a lot stronger, and you have to be a lot more careful. Everyone, the first class doing these wire sculptures, everyone pricks their finger and bleeds all over the place. So I have some Band-Aids ready. Or just be super careful and don't prick yourself with the steel wire. That's probably the best way to go, right? Okay, I'll let go with that. There we go. So bring them back up. Get them more positioned to where you want them to be again. Right? Give it a little pinch. Right in here. Maybe right up against where the head is, and give it some twist. And there are people that are wire sculptors. Yeah, wire sculptors. People that just do wire art. There's a lot you could find online if you enjoy this process. There's a whole bunch of stuff you could do that's cool. So there you go. So now he has these little ears that perk up. Maybe you want to give him a head and a snout. Right, so let's go with the softer armature wire this time. Softer stuff if it's available. Okay, and let's say he has a big snout and lower jaw. And for something like this, I would get the shape I want for the head first before I attach it to the body. And that way, there you go ahead and grab this, tighten it in. This is the jaw. That way I'm not trying to do this part of the process while it's on the body. Right, so I'll pinch it with my locks, and then you can twist out with your fingers or do like the old man does here and twist it with the tool. And when you twist it with the tool, the other thing is not just to save your fingers, but you get a much tighter spiral doing it that way. Right, so there's his jaw, and then I'll just kind of position how I want to do this guy. There we go. Top. And maybe the top of the snout I'll go this way instead of sideways with it, right? Something like that. Okay, give it a lock. Things are moving around a lot in there, it's all right. And that's the burr, the end of it's gonna have a little sharp point, right? And just tuck that underneath. And when you're tucking the ends of the thicker wire and the burrs and stuff like that, you want to use the tip of those needle nose and really get it under there. And remember not to squeeze too tight with these, because the teeth on here are going to munch up your wire and make it weaker. You'll see all the marks all over the wire. It makes it a little bit less friendly to be reused. All right, so there we go. And then lashing, last part to do, right? So we'll get some more floral wire. Still on camera, okay? Nope. Okay. And, oh, where'd it go? What? Yeah, the floral wire goes flying sometimes. There we go, it's so light. Okay, so, I don't know, I don't have any special methods for this. I just do whatever. But if you do one end through one side, like that, and then push the other end through the other side, oh no, then at least you have a starting point to tie it all together. Jeez, this is a mess. Yeah, I'm just making stuff up. If you do something new, if you just make something up each time, you'll learn a lot. It's good to have some standard methods that work for you, that you know you're gonna get the results you want to. But just have fun with this. There's no right or wrong. I might have mentioned that 10 or 12 times. Woohoo. Twist around the ear, there we go. And then up through the ear maybe. Same thing at the foil and the mesh. You can cut, you know, maybe the ears would be cooler if I had cut them out of the mesh. But hoops work really well. Your hoop is your friend for almost all of the limbs. The head, the accessory, the hands, the feet. I use hoops. And then this one, ooh, that got me pretty good. Ouch. There we go. It's that little end of that floral wire right there, the steel wire, not the floral one. That's the one I mentioned is like extra sharp. So for that one, if I don't want to bleed all over, I just grab my file here and I just hit it a few times. A little after the fact, I know, like after you stab yourself, file it down, you know, whatever. Here we go. So this one's still nice and tight. I go through the snout underneath here and then twist it around and up in the ear and just twist that around. Okay, let's give the ears some volume using the floral wire. So what I mean by that, if as you're exploring your gesture and your character shape, see how his hips are moving around a lot. It's a little more than I would have wanted. What you can do now, see these big flat hoops, is take the floral wire and really go around the shape a lot. There we go. So what I would do is I would get my locks and use your locks almost like a little stand to hold your character still. And just like that. Okay, you see that all right? Okay, and then take this to the loop right here and